What up, YouTube? Ed Weskergriff, and being joined today by none other than MikeO. And we're going to
What's up?
be talking about the Philly show this weekend. Both of us went to the Philly show. It was an interesting experience to say the least. And you know me, I'm never one to shy away from giving my opinion or sharing my experience on the channel. And I was going to do this video solo, but I figured since Mike was here and he went to the show and we did hang out a little bit, I figured I'd bring him on. And he also he stayed longer than me at the show, and he went to the trade night afterwards. So he probably can share more about his experience. But I figured instead of putting this all in the card show recap video, I just do a separate video because talk about the show because a lot happened. It was total chaos, and it was unlike I haven't seen a Philly show like that in ages. So, Mike, thanks for joining. Thanks for being on, and looking forward to discussing this how crazy yesterday was because it was pretty insane.
Well, I appreciate you having me. It was an experience that is for sure. The evolution of all card shows has obviously changed. The landscape of them has changed a lot in the last couple years, but I guess we can see firsthand how that has affected, in some ways positively and in some ways negatively, the Philly show, the big quarterly show that is around us, that is local to us. Um, I think they advertise themselves or they brand themselves as the longest running baseball card show in America or something like that. I mean, it's been going on for decades. Of course, it's changed venues over the years and such, but it has absolutely evolved and changed, and we saw it again. You continue to get kind of different dealers in. You get certainly more dealers. That place is filled about as much as I can see it being filled with dealers. New people coming in every time. A lot of more national people coming in. It might have even been helped. It may have even been more chaotic, believe it or not, if it weren't the same weekend as the Dallas show, which obviously is a very big show in the country and a really big show for dealers and buyers alike to travel to. So it was it was crazy. I mean, I do have some video clips. I will hopefully share them in my recap, which I'll be recording and posting hopefully tonight.
The video clips
Fire
just
marshals,
are just
beware.
people's backs, are they?
I, I might have given a little quick point of view. Hey, this is what you can see. You got someone's back right in front of you. It was nuts. Like, honestly, like, it's not even an exaggeration. It was so jam packed, specifically early Saturday. And from what I've heard, I wasn't there Friday. It was very busy Friday, abnormally busy for a Friday. And from what I heard today, was also very busy, but it was what you'd expect. Way more calm on a Sunday. You could actually move around. But Saturday, specifically the first half of Saturday, you could not move. You absolutely could not move. It was honestly probably irresponsible on their part to not either herd people and spread them out, force people to spread out or something. I don't know how, but it was absolutely jam packed, and it kind of hurt the experience overall, honestly.
It definitely impacted my experience because between the both of us, I think we've been going. I mean, we probably have about between the two of us like over maybe like 30 or 40 Philly shows under our belt for going for years and years, and the show is held 3 times a year. I mean, at one part it was held 4 times, but it doesn't do that anymore. It's only held 3 times a year. But the amount of people that were there on Saturday, and again, I didn't go Friday. I know our friend Reese Card Ranger did go, and he said it was also pretty crazy on Friday. But he said Saturday was more crazy, and we know that going in, Saturday is always the busiest day of the show. But with the Dallas Card Show being the same week, I kind of thought going in that it would be real busy, but not just chaotic busy. And it was utterly insane. Whole rows were unpassable. Like an absolute gold mine for the dealers. I'm sure the dealers made out like bandits. I'm sure, most of the dealers there had a huge financial weekend, which is great. It's good for the hobby. But for your average collector like us going to the show, it was just, especially if you went on Saturday. Now, Mike, I know your experience will get better because you stayed longer where it thinned out. But for me, going, I got there at 10:30. Took about a half an hour to park, which is normally never the case. It takes about like 5 to 10 minutes to find a spot. But then going in and walking around, and I had to leave at 2 o'clock. Like, you literally could not move anywhere. It was just, everything was impassable. And when you went to go up to a showcase, you couldn't see anything because there was already 2 columns of people at every table. And then the majority of the tables were also making transactions, trade, sales with people at the show who were looking to buy, sell, or trade. So it was just total chaos.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Chaos is definitely an appropriate word. So, like for me, I always like to go on Friday. To me, I like having that kind of, at least that perception, that self perception of first crack at kind of looking at things, seeing things. Even though dealers are making deals before it even opens to the public at all, and now they do have a setup there where you can pay additional money to get kind of like first access. Opens like 2 hours early or something. But either way, I think it's like a lot of shows, unless you're going to a very small mall show or really small kind of pop up 20 table show. I feel like most of the big shows, it's really set up now with the how many dealers there are and how many people that really, to like, if you want to get a good in-depth understanding and look at the show, you really do need a few days. Absolutely, with the national, I mean, you need kind of all 5 days really to fully do it. And the national, you certainly need a couple days. And certain people, especially locals, they're only going to be able to do a day. But even the Philly show, really, like for the best experience, you should do 2 days. But that's not something that I've done a lot recently. Of course, we're in this crazy phase where things are busy and the post-pandemic boom of the hobby. So I haven't done it lately. Usually I like to get Friday in. Saturday is nice because it's the longest hours. So this time I wasn't available Friday. So I figured, you know what, I'll do Saturday. And I did honestly originally intend on doing Saturday and Sunday, but you have to face the way the world is right now and the way the economy is. And I mean, gas is $4.25 a gallon right now. Both yourself and I, we need to, well, you don't have to, but the most efficient way to get there is to take the turnpike, which you have a fee for that, right? You have tolls, and it is $10 admission. So there is a solid cost in attending the show.
Yeah, there's overhead.
So as much as I considered doing 2 days, I was like, you know what? I knew going in, I'm probably going to end up only doing one day, unless there's like something crazy to do a second day. Or if my dad was up for going, I would have probably gone with him. Today, he definitely wasn't in the mood to do that type of thing. So I ended up only going Saturday, and I knew it would be busy. And I knew, even being at the show approximately 9 to 5, full 8-hour day, I knew it was going to be hard to see anything or everything as is. And then with how busy it was impossible. It was virtually impossible to even walk by and glance at every table. Because like you said, especially in the front or in that first half of the show, it was so unbelievably filled you could barely get down the aisles. God forbid you saw something from a glance that you were interested in. You had the table, 8-foot table, straight across, 2-3 people deep. Then you had guys throwing their Pelican cases on the cases so you couldn't see things, just to ask about things. And like, there were things I was interested in that I never even got a price quote on. because it's like, well, what am I going to stand here for 15 minutes? Like
Yeah.
that time's ticking away. Do I have 20 minutes to stand here just to wait for a chance to see what a price is on an item that I may or may not be able to work a deal on? It was, and that's where it started to get frustrating. And one of, I like doing the show, and I always like to find a way to look at everything. And I want to see the cards, and even if it's just to motivate me or to inspire me for something I might want, or maybe something just catches my eye that I don't even know about, and just kind of look, some of our best purchases are just kind of spur of the moment, like, oh, you run into things, you run into a deal. And it was hard to see that. But another awesome part of the show, and all shows, and probably my favorite aspect, is having that opportunity to hang out with friends in the community. And it
Yes.
was like,
That's
first off,
impossible. Yeah. No.
it's a situation that somehow they should find a way to figure out, at least with some sort of effective Wi-Fi that works to help people out. But like literally, the phone service for the most part is awful at that show down in that basement, at least for most people. And so that makes it virtually impossible unless you're in the right space at the right moment to communicate. And then to see if people, you couldn't find anyone. And I knew a half
Flashbacks of
dozen
the
people who
IX
were
Center.
there, and it took for an eternity to finally start running into people. I mean, I think I was there for a few hours. You had already been there for quite a while before I finally just happened to run into you. So, and you just got to a point where it's like you start building up like anxiety over it. Like, dude, like, what is going on? Why are there so many people? Like, I'm not someone who gets like claustrophobic or anything, but like, if you did, I can't even imagine how you could survive in there. It was just everyone's on top of each other. It was crazy.
I think the key problem is, and I actually said this in the last Philly. I might have said this in the last Philly show recap. I know for a fact I've said it on the channel before. But the Philly show really needs to consider moving back to the Oaks, PA, the convention center there. It's way bigger, it's huge, and it would accommodate a lot of the needs. I don't know if they have a deal with the Valley Forge Casino where they have to have it there, but when the Valley Forge Casino, if you
I'm
remember
sure
when
they have some sort of agreement where they
when,
have something financially binding, but
when it got flooded, remember when it got flooded a couple years ago and they moved it back to Oaks? It needs to go to Oaks. It's way bigger and it can accommodate more dealers and it can just accommodate more space because we have been to chaotic, super busy card shows. That doesn't phase us. But if you've never been to the Philly show, if you've never been to that specific venue we're talking about, the Valley Forge Casino, there's literally areas that bottleneck and you cannot, there's only one way to go. So with all these people there, it's literally people on top. It's like the best way I could describe it is being like pretty much in a mosh pit. Like you're shoulder to shoulder, you're like this, and you got to weave through. It was just total chaos on Saturday, at least early. I heard you, as you said earlier, it thinned out around, I want to say a little after maybe 2:30, 3 o'clock, but that was just total chaos in the beginning.
yeah, it absolutely becomes a dangerous situation. And I'd prefer, I like, I mean, I miss the old days when it was in, where was it? It was in like Fort Washington or something. That'd be even a little closer for me. I actually would love for it to be there, but I don't know how big that convention center is. I'm guessing I feel like it was big, but it was there when I was way younger, so everything was bigger. I mean, you think your grade school is big when you're a little kid, right? And then you grow up, you go back there, and you're like, this place is tiny. Um, so the Valley Forge casino location is great in terms of the fact that obviously the dealers can just stay right there and walk downstairs, and a lot of people traveling out of town, they got the hotel literally in the same building, and there's entertainment for those who are staying. They can go to the casino, they can just food, all that kind of stuff, and it's right there. It's like a 3-minute ride from the turnpike. Like all that's ideal, but it's just obvious at this moment that it's just not big enough. It just flat out isn't. They have crammed as many tables in there as they can. I really don't think they have any space for any more. and the crowds are too big. You just don't fit right. And I don't know what they're going to do. Will they go to Oaks? Is that a possibility? Is there another location? I mean, unfortunately, it's not from what you hear about the Dallas show. There's a bunch of different rooms. Like, I don't think that's an option. They're not going to start having rooms upstairs and like in different areas. So, I mean, I don't see what they can do. But if it continues to grow, they can't continue as is. They can't. And maybe just a lot of people from this show get turned off and just go, I ain't going next time. Or maybe next time Saturday's late and everyone's there early on Friday or late on Sunday. Who knows? But
I also have noticed something. I haven't told you this, but maybe you have noticed as well. But I have noticed, and for the Philly show, which is a regional show specific to the area, part of the identity of the Philly show is having great vintage, hard to find vintage, but also feature pretty prominently the Philadelphia sports teams, the Sixers, the Eagles, the Flyers, and the Phillies. And usually, from going years and years to the show, you would find pretty rare Phillies cards, Flyers cards, Sixers cards, Eagles cards. And there was always dealers that really catered to those needs. Now that the show is becoming, you're getting more people not from the area, and you're getting more of the national level of dealers. Maybe people coming from the New York area or the Midwest or out of state. You're getting less Philly area cards, and I've kind of noticed that the last couple shows. And usually, whenever I would go to the Philly show, I would like to zoom in on trying to find pretty unique or rare Phillies cards, whether that be modern, ultra modern, or vintage. And they're still there, but it has been thinned out, I feel, pretty good. Now, the signers that they get for the show, which is a completely different animal, that's not something usually me and you do. We're mostly there for the cards. The signers are catered all towards the Philadelphia area, and they always get a great diversity of signers. But I will say, from the card side of things, I've noticed um, it's kind of thinning out more in that department. Would you agree with that assessment, or have you noticed that?
I mean, definitely with the mix of dealers that certainly aren't going to specialize, and they're not. I think a lot of the Philadelphia guys are going to try and buy Philadelphia stuff to sell at the show. It's the way it's always kind of been, right? You have your superstars and you have your local heroes. Now, I do think the hobby is trending a lot more towards just chasing the hot guys, and it's always been like that to a degree, but you just see more and more people who collect the goats or collect the hot young players. You have all these guys from Philadelphia now hunting down Juan Soto. Juan Soto becomes their favorite player. The hell with the local baseball team. But no, in all seriousness, I saw some Phillies cards. I didn't see as much as I usually would. I did see tons of Jalen Hurts cards. Now, I don't know if those were guys who were kind of investing in Jalen Hurts going, oh, he's the Eagles quarterback, or if it was a bunch of guys going, oh, I'm going to Philly, let me dump this guy's cards before they trade for someone else. I don't know, but I honestly saw so many Jalen Hurts slabbed cards, mostly CSG slabs.
I do agree with that.
But
Yeah.
I didn't see as much, like, not that I look for Sixers, Flyers stuff. I really honestly didn't see a whole lot of hockey. Very limited hockey. I feel like I might have even seen more soccer than hockey. But Philly stuff, I really didn't see a ton. So
Yeah.
I do agree. I think it's just a lot more of that national, going for just the top guys. I mean, you see Joe Burrow, you see Cincinnati Bengals cards in every showcase.
Yeah,
It's like,
that confused me yesterday. From what limited I did see, there was about maybe like 10 to 15 people I saw wearing Joe Burrow jerseys, and then literally it felt like everyone that was selling modern or ultra modern had at least like 5 to 10 Joe Burrow cards in their showcase. And that's not like, I'm not saying that the the Philly show, it's usually I really kind of don't get the sense that it's usually like that. It's more skewed towards the vintage. Yes, you do get the modern, ultra modern, but it's usually not every dealer has the same ultra modern player that they're trying to sell. Or you don't normally get a lot of people at the show wearing gear of other teams, if that makes sense.
Yeah, back in the day, you get beat up for wearing
Yes.
jersey from another team.
Yeah. Like Mets or Yankees jerseys, like years ago, like people would be like, "What the hell's this guy doing here?"
You lost, bud.
I mean, we know playful heckling or hazing a little bit, but no, that's completely gone. That's
But it
completely
is.
gone.
I mean, I'm sure dealers did very well because it sounds like
Oh,
Friday was very busy and they did
definitely.
well. And Saturday, even though it was frustrating for a lot of the collectors, the tables had eyes in front of them the entire time. So I'm sure overall they did well. And from what I heard today, it was solid.
I
But I
would say
do
it was
wonder
probably the best money weekend.
how much money were people looking to spend that they didn't, because we know specifically Saturday, just talking about people we know, Reese, who I was looking forward to meeting up with, left early, never got to run into him. I know you were going to have to leave early as is due to your plans for that evening, but you were like ready to get out of there like about 2 minutes after I saw you, which was fairly early in the show. You're like, I don't know how long I can stay. I'm like ready to just get the hell out of here. I know Ray was just like, dude, I got to get
Well,
out of
Pete
here
Rose saved me.
as soon as I saw him. I know I had run into Flipping Steve, who he's not as much of a baseball guy, so he might not be as well known for the crowd that you get on your videos, but he's made a name for himself in YouTube overall. Like, he left earlier than anticipated. Like, everyone was just like ready to get out of there, and it was like, how many people left 2 or 3 hours before they normally would have because of how crazy it was? And then, like me, there were a few other things that I wanted to see that I was interested in that I never even got to ask a price. Or even if I did and I was like, well, I want to look around before I commit to making any purchases. And then next thing you know, the show's ending and it's like you never make it back. So how many lost sales were there as well? So it's just kind of interesting to think about.
I mean, I did get a pretty cool lifelong memory or pretty cool hobby memory that I'll probably cherish for quite a while. And that was when I did get there Saturday after I finally was able to park the car after 30 minutes.
Then you got to
Uh,
spend 49 minutes waiting in line to buy your ticket.
I get, yeah, the line was like insanely long. I finally was able to get the wristband, but then there was just like a horde of people, like easily probably like 100 to like maybe 200 people bottlenecked in that area, which when you first go in, there's only one way to enter into the Philly show. So all these people were bottlenecked there, and there's an elevators to the right. So the elevator opens up, and Pete Rose strolls out of the elevator with his handler, and I think he was either signing autographs or he was taking pictures, and he was supposed to be in his booth, and he couldn't get through, so he cleared them out. He got all the all the dudes with the Pelican. He told them to move, get out of the way, get out of the way, coming through, all time hit king coming through, get out of the way. So they all got out of the way, and I just was like, shit, I'll follow Pete. I'll just go right behind Pete. So I'm walking behind Pete.
Too
Like
bad you weren't wearing your suit. That would have been a perfect moment. Suit and sunglasses, walking right behind.
I wanted to take, I was going to film it, but I was like, nah, I was like, that's probably disrespectful
No
to,
less
to put a camera in Pete
disrespectful
Rose's.
than some of the guys walking around
Yeah,
with their cameras.
I'm like, I'm not gonna do that. So I'm walking behind him, and when you walk in that main row, the main row on Saturday was still completely clogged. So every time he would walk up, it was like he was parting the sea. Like everyone was just moving out of his way. And I'm like, damn, Pete, you getting these people to move, man. God bless you, Pete. God bless you, all time hit leader. Turns around, he's like, thank you, son. Thank you. Enjoy the show. I'm like, have a great one, Pete. God bless. and then I turned down a row and tried to navigate that. And I think about like 10 minutes later, I might have bumped into you, and that's why I was just like, dude, like I haven't seen anything. Like Pete Rose saved me from getting in, but like other than that, I can't see any showcases. Like, why am I even here?
And obviously, you're a big fan of those value boxes, and good luck.
Well,
First off, the selection of value
yeah.
boxes, few and far between. There was definitely some solid stuff, but it was hard to get to them. And like a few times when I would start going through some boxes, someone else would be reaching in while you're going through a row,
A lot
or
of
they'd
that
be
going
right
on.
next to you doing the row next to you, which is fine. But then they're like elbowing you, and you're like, dude, like, what's going on? Like, what are you doing? And then people banging into you, and I'm just like, oh, this is just frustrating.
The value boxes did go. I don't know how, but I did go through probably about 20 to 30 different value boxes. And I think that was only because it was possible because people were trying to look in showcases, and a huge majority of the people there were looking to make deals with the dealers, either sell and buying or do like a trade sale. So there was a lot of that going on. So the value boxes you could go through. But after going through the value boxes, I found out why people were not really looking at them. A lot of the value boxes I went through, and I can't believe I'm saying this, they were just horrific. Like, I'm not one to complain about value box content. It's a value box, and I've added some incredible cards over the years through the collection. I mean, I got a Fernando Tatis Topps Chrome Refractor or Prism Refractor from the Philly show back in 2019 for like $4. So you can find
Didn't
I've
you get a
gotten
rainbow foil Soto
yeah
for
I've
like
gotten a
$5 or $10?
rainbow foil Juan Soto update. I've gotten some really crazy cards over the years through value boxes, but through all the value boxes that I went through. And again, it wasn't a small sample size. It wasn't like one or two dealers. This was like multiple dealers. Like I just couldn't believe like it was just like 20 Nick Senzel Heritage rookies. Uh, you know,
Kyle Lewis.
the amount of Gavin Lux that I went through, it was just like I was like, is the entire production of Topps Gavin Lux rookies in these boxes? Like literally, the one box was all Gavin Lux. I'm like, this should just be marked Gavin Lux top box. Like it's insane. Tons of like second year Acuñas, rookie cup Acuñas, all second year Acuñas. I'm like,
No Juan Soto though.
uh, no, well, the one slab value box I went through, there was all PSA 8 and 9 second year base Sotos and second year PSA 8 Acuñas and PSA 8 Gavin Lux rookies. Just stuff that like I'm like I can't even like none of like usually when you go through a value box, especially at the Philly show, you'll be able to find some oddball Phillies or some odds and end Philly inserts or some golds of like even crumbs on the Phillies, like maybe like like a Brad Miller or an Archie Bradley, something cool just to put into the player binder or the team binder. But no, none of that. Just all the rookies of guys who really aren't doing anything like and they want like five like they were like $4. I'm like, I don't even think these cards are worth like $1. And I'm like, I don't know if they were picked clean, if these boxes were all picked clean, but I'm like, it's pretty rough. Like there's not one thing of value there's not one decent thing I can find in here. It was nuts. But again, I didn't go through every box, but I went through quite a few, and I couldn't believe it. And I told you that at the show. You're like, I got to go look through some value boxes. I'm like, why bother? Like, they're either picked through, or do you want a Nick Senzel, or do you want, uh, oh, who's the guy on the Reds?
You got to start talking the show up so
He's
you can
Aquino
convince.
or Akeem Badoob. Do you want that? And like,
you got to start talking the show up so you can convince Baseball Collector to make his appearance. He'd make the show great again if he came out.
I don't know if Baseball Collector would have a fun time at the Philly show. He would.
Baseball Collector would love the Philly show. He would love the vintage. I don't know how many deals he would work out, but he would love
he wouldn't
the
like the prices though, because dealers are very firm on the prices, especially for the vintage at the Philly show. No art of the deal here, Baseball Collector. But I don't know. I don't think. Well, Mike does. I don't want to speak for him, but sometimes I know he's not too crazy over, going elbows to elbow, forechecking people to get by, like literally trying to get by on a Saturday. I don't think
if he made his presence felt, he'd have the Pete Rose effect, and just everyone would bow down and move out of the way, and then we could just follow his coattails.
Not to be. I said this, but literally the only spot. No, I'm not. The only spot, and I told you this. This is like the today is the anniversary of the Alamo. I'm sure Mike will appreciate that reference, but the Alamo at the Philly show is where CSG is, because that is the only spot that was
if you needed some breathing room,
literally
you could go to the CSG booth,
and it was like Noah's Ark, like going over there. Like you're like, okay, I'm finally I can breathe. I don't have 10 people on top of me. I can get a nice little CSG pen and a little pin, which I did pick up. That's good. I was going to show that in my recap. I'm like, this is the only spot in the damn building where I can literally breathe some air and not feel like I'm being smothered to death.
Yeah, I was actually surprised to see them. Well, I saw, first of all, Beckett was set up there. I don't know if you saw that. They were back in one of those weird little corners. And
Did they have the tent, the black tent?
Yeah, and I was kind of like, Beckett, I forgot you guys existed. I mean, I know they just reopened. They were there. JSA was back there with them. And then I was surprised when I saw CSG, because 2 shows ago, CSG had to have the biggest disaster in Philly show hit. Literally no one. I remember it was 2 shows ago. I brought a mislabeled card and gave it to him and took care of it. And I was over in that area a lot, and most of the time the 2 people working there were literally just sitting there twiddling their thumbs. It was really bad with how little attention they got. And then they didn't show up to the last Philly show at all. They didn't set up. And I was actually surprised when they were set up this time. But I did see a number of CSG slabs, but it is kind of what you'd expect. It was mostly those. For the most part, there are, of course, some decent cards in CSG slabs. It was mostly discount slabs and discount boxes. And, I mean, that just speaks to what it is. They're currently a distant 4th. I think they are gaining momentum, and I think they are gaining some popularity, and people are going to use them. But the buzz with them and how many you saw in cases overall, and, with the lack of people submitting in a time where people are infatuated and obsessed with grading, it's kind of alarming when you see stuff like that. There's a reason their submissions, I think, are getting faster, and I don't think it's just because they're turning stuff over quicker, but it'll be interesting to see, because I do think they will continue to grow and get bigger, and more people will get used to them. But that was weird with how busy the show is, how dead their area was.
They had a few people this time, at least. They had a couple people over there. So they were doing some stuff, but that was the Alamo. That was the area that you can go to and actually breathe, maybe check your phone, pray to get a signal, hope I get a signal, and then that was about it. But I did go into the show, and I've been doing this for the last couple card shows, and it's just getting frustrating. I've been going in with the mindset that I want to look for CSG slabs of specific players, and whenever I ask the dealers for their CSG slabs what they have to show, it's always players I have zero interest in buying, like Gavin Lux, like Nick Senzel, like an SGC 7.5 of Jalen Hurts. It's just all stuff that I'm not interested in. I know when we do CSG submissions, I submit stuff that I want to have in their slab, but it just seems like a lot of dealers are putting, I guess, like the value box level cards, which I kind of expected since CSG is going to, I feel like they're going to really take good in that space to be the value slab dealer. I mean, the value slab company. So, oh no. I couldn't find one Soto CSG slab anywhere in that place. I don't know about you.
I mean, I didn't go crazy looking for Juan Soto CSG slabs, but like I said, I saw a lot in like value slab types of boxes, not a whole ton in showcases. But overall, like honestly, it's still fun to get out to a card show. It was frustrating when I pulled in. I got there about 20 minutes later than I anticipated, and as soon as I pulled in, and I got lucky, like I saw in one of the side spots, I didn't have to go way up the hill. I saw a car pulling out, so I went in there, backed right into a spot. So that was great. It only took me minutes to find a spot and park. But I just saw the sea of people wandering around. I went, this is going to be bad. Went down. As soon as I walked down the steps, I was recognized immediately by someone who watches the channel. And like it was kind of nice in terms of being able to talk to the guy like while we waited in line, because the line moved at a fairly decent pace, but it still took a good 10, 15 minutes to get up to the front of the line. And then as soon as I walk in, I'm just like, dude, this is ridiculous. And I started trying to send messages and find out where people were. And then, of course, the phone service dies. And it was just to try and weave around and look at stuff. It honestly started to get really frustrating. I'm like, dude, I can't see anything. This is annoying. I talked to a few dealers that I see at other shows. One guy I deal with at the Neshaminy show. And I was like, dude, I can't wait for the Neshaminy show because there I can at least look at all your stuff and not get elbowed and bumped into 50 times. And it's just like, and the guy who was helping him was just like, yeah, dude, this is ridiculous. Like if I was just here shopping, I would get the hell out of here way earlier than I would want because I can't deal with this. This is ridiculous. Well, and it's frustrating. And I think for the dealers there, some of them too. And it depends what kind of, some dealers just have like straight up showcases. So they don't really have to worry as much. But like this guy set up, he has stuff kind of all over. He does have some stuff in showcases, but he's got tons of value boxes and different stuff. And like his guy helps him. He helps him basically watch to make sure stuff doesn't get lifted and taken off. And he's just like, dude, this is just like, this is frustrating. Like you can't, there's so many people. You can't keep an eye on everything. Like, so there's just, I feel like it was at times a bad experience for everyone. But for me, staying there till 5, once a lot of people started taking off around 1 o'clock, the last few hours were a lot of fun. I was able to finally, after hours and hours and hours, connect with Andrew, Enough Said Cards. And it was awesome to catch up with him and just kind of casually wander around, look at stuff. He was going through some boxes. I actually finally found a few things to purchase. And so that was nice and got to enjoy the last few hours. And then they did have a trade night. I remember hearing about it, but it was literally just something I didn't think about. And unfortunately, if I would have thought about it and prepared, I could have brought some stuff and maybe made some moves or traded some stuff. But the trade night was pretty solid. It wasn't as crazy as those Nationals trade nights, but there were a lot of people there, a couple hundred people. But you're at tables and, it wasn't to the level of the show. A lot of youth. It was one of those things kind of felt good. I was just kind of mostly casually sitting there talking to Enough Said Cards and a few other people, and we were just kind of hanging out, catching up. But you did see a lot of youth there. Of course, you had your 20-year-olds that are trying to, bamboozle everyone. But you also had a lot of young kids, like 10-year-olds and stuff who you could just see having fun and smiling. So it was one of those things where finally, after the frustration and the kind of anxiety of the early portion of the show, you were able to sit back and be like, you know what, the hobby is, it's changed and it's spiked super high and it's come back down to earth, but the interest is there. It's in a really good place. There's a lot of diversity in terms of people collecting, and ages and like a lot of kids, a lot of teenagers and 20-year-olds and 30 and 40-year-olds, as well as your longtime collectors who are in their 50s, 60s, and even 70s. So, I mean, I thought that part felt good. And I actually made my biggest purchase at the trade night. So overall, it was a success. I do look forward to the next one. The next one, I'm going to have to absolutely make sure I plan ahead of time to hopefully get there like Friday and Saturday, but maybe not worry about getting there. If you go Friday, you go for the 4 or 5 hours to open Friday, and then Saturday, maybe get there a couple hours in and then stay for the trade night, something like that. Plan it out a little better. And it overall, with it being a better experience in the second half, it actually got me juiced up. I started going, oh man, can I make it to a Chantilly show? And I know there's a big vintage show coming up in Ohio that I would love to get to, but I honestly just don't think it's going to work out schedule wise, but it would be amazing. And I started thinking about the National, how much fun it'll be to hang out with everyone there. Obviously, the show will probably be nuts. And I don't think that's necessarily the greatest like setup for the show, but I think it'll be a lot of fun to go to and experience the National and hang out with everyone. I think that's going to be fun too. So overall, positive experience. I'm definitely excited for some of the smaller shows coming up too. I don't know if you're going to go to the Oxford Valley show. I think that'll be fun. Be way smaller, but maybe a chance to actually look through some boxes and just kind of
I'll
casually enjoy
definitely
it.
probably go to that.
And then, we look forward to our Neshaminy show in April, so that'll be fun.
I wanted to highlight this one comment.
What's up, Brownie?
We did touch on it a little earlier about the Philly show bringing in too many sports figures that are bringing in the larger crowds. I don't necessarily think so. The largest I've seen the in-person autograph crowds at the Philly show for was the show after the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and they had a lot of the players from the team, like they had Nick Foles and they had a bunch of different players on the Eagles that year signing at the Philly show, and that was the most craziest I've seen people go for the autograph tickets, because like all the tickets were sold out for all the individual players. So I don't think it's necessarily the players that they're bringing in. One of the things that
there were a lot of signers though. That was
there were
kind
a lot of
crazy.
Signers. I think one of the things I want to touch on, which is why it was more busier than normal, and why you saw a lot more people looking to trade or do the cash trade or just straight sell, people walking around, is because of the taxes. With the new tax law, it's more difficult for your average Joe now, because they don't want to get that, was it $600 and you get the 1099. So if you go to the card show, you can kind of two-step around that with selling in person. So I said this when, there were so many videos here on YouTube about people talking about the new tax law, the $600 1099 for PayPal. There was it was kind of beaten into the ground with people talking about it. But one of the things I said, one of the side effects of that being implemented by the government, is that you're going to be having way more people at card shows, especially the more regional shows or the mid-tier shows, and way more people looking to sell, trade, whatever, and exchange cash. So I think that's a big side effect that you're seeing. We saw one of the side effects of that yesterday, because there's usually at the last couple of Philly shows, there's a decent amount of people walking around trying to make moves, trying to make trades or sales, who aren't set up. But yesterday was easily the most I've ever seen. Like, it felt like, I would say 90% of the people walking around were looking to trade, sell, or buy from the dealers.
And some of them realistic, and they were able to sell stuff, and some unrealistic. Did have one kid who was trying to get 100% of comps from a guy, and the guy's like, dude, he's like, why don't you want it or something? The guy was like, basically was like, dude, you spend $2,000 to set up here, and then you can get 100% comps. Otherwise, I'll pay you 60%.
Yeah, that really that
And it was like
that
annoying.
gets my blood going,
I
and I'm
just
not
kind of
even a
laughed
dealer.
because I was like, come on, dude. And this guy was super young and he's out of touch with reality. Probably doesn't like, literally just doesn't have a clue how things work or doesn't look into it because it's like, well, if you were to sell it on eBay, cool, you get $60, but then you're losing 10, 12, 13%, whatever the eBay fees are, and you got to ship it out and you have all your supplies and shipping costs and the fact that it's going against, you're going to have to pay taxes on your profits and this and that. It's like, so right there, you should be willing to step down from that. And then you're selling it to someone who's buying it to resell, and they do have a lot of costs. So like your expectations got to be set at a certain level. It's one thing if you have a soda, right?
Yeah,
Let's just say you have a soda, I don't know, an X Fractor, right? You have one,
JT has one.
like your best buddy JT got one that he's giving you, according to Baseball Collector. So I feel like if you don't get that as a gift from JT, Baseball Collector perhaps should buy it from JT and send it to you because he obviously got your hopes up so much. But if someone walked up to someone at a show and I don't even know what that card goes for. Let's say it goes for 2,000. Like you can easily sell it for 2,000. I mean, the dealer might be willing to give you 1,900 for it because he knows he can make $100 and have it sold by the end of the
Yeah,
weekend.
like, sell it like that.
But if it's something, I don't know, like Joe Burrow, who is still hot and a good young quarterback and could have a fabulous career, could have a big year next year, a lot of anticipation probably in the fall, but it's the off season coming off a losing Super Bowl. Market's kind of currently flooded. Maybe it's not as rare of a card. Well, why would the guy give you, if it's a $2,000 card, he could get 2,000, but it has a lot more competition? Well, then the guy's probably going to be more likely to only want to give you 1,400, 1,500 because it's going to take them a while to sell that item. So a lot of people don't look at things that way. And obviously, people are just looking for that quick cash to use to buy something else to sell to someone else.
I saw a couple instances of that yesterday, and when it's a youngin, when it's like someone 18 and under, I mean, it's just a learning moment for them. But when an older person does it, like someone over the age of like, I don't know, where I don't whatever cutoff you want to use, like not a kid or like an adult tries to do that, that really that gets my blood boiling. That annoys me so much, and I'm not even a dealer. I don't even know how the dealers would take it. Someone that wants full comps without paying overhead, without paying fees, and especially if they're older trying to do that, that's just like, dude, like you're old enough to know basic economics here. Like, you, it's just so frustrating. And like I said, I'm not even the dealer. I'm not the person that's being offered the card, but you see it on the dealer's face sometimes. They just get like kind of annoyed that the person like they're not taking their overhead costs into account or the fees or whatever, and it's just like, come on, like
Well, I'm sure,
if
like,
the card
even,
sells for 2,000, like I can't give you 2,000. I have to make the dealer has to make money. I
and
mean,
then they'll say,
that's
well, you could
common
sell it on
sense.
eBay for 2,000. It's like, well, if you sell it somewhere like that, you're going to pay
Then
fees and
two hundred
such. So you
dollars
can't
right
get
off,
that.
boom.
Well, I
Yeah,
think yesterday guys were getting really annoyed, and I don't begrudge them at all because it was so packed. Like, if you're wasting your time with a conversation with someone who's out of touch with reality, like, you're probably losing a sale or two during the course of that time because now that you're taking that time and you have 10 other people who are now walking away because it's so crowded. So, I mean, that's just part of the way the hobby is right now. People with their Pelican cases.
there was a funny, real funny interaction that happened yesterday. I think I told you about it, but I'll tell it here on the channel. I was looking through a showcase there at the end, and I don't know why it's always this particular player. This particular player is a magnet at the Philly show. But looking through a dealer showcase, mostly ultra modern, baseball, basketball, pretty basketball heavy, and football. So I'm looking through, don't really see anything that catches my eye. So I'm just kind of sliding on down. And this guy, I want to say he was maybe in his mid 20s. He's like, he he's tapping the showcase, and he's like, excuse me, I want to can I look at this card? I want to make an offer on it. So the dealer's like, which card? Which card are you pointing to? He's like, Tatus. So I looked over because I'm like, I don't know any player named Tatus. And he's like, the dealer's like, what player? He's like, Tatus. So I interject. I'm like, do you mean Tatum? I thought he meant Jason Tatum because, again, the dealer did have Ultra Modern. He's like, no, not Jason Tatum. Tatus. So again, the dealer was confused. I was confused. The dealer's like, well who? I don't know what player you want. I don't know what card you're talking about. I don't have anyone in the case named Tatus. So I thought, well, what's his first name? I'm like, so what's the first name of the guy, Tatus? What's his first name? He said Fernando. Fernando Tatus? I'm like, so me and the dealer both look at each other, and we look back at each other, look back. I'm like, do you mean Tatis? Fernando Tatis? Yeah. Like,
I mean, it's not like his father didn't have like a 10-year career and have some big moments.
this wasn't
like, he
a
wasn't
kid.
a nobody.
Yeah.
And then now he's one of the faces of baseball.
This wasn't a kid though. This wasn't like a kid. Like this was a grown person. So I was like, well, why you want the card if you don't even know the guy's name? He's a superstar in the sport. He's like, well, he's hot. He's hot. And he's going to be great. So kudos to the dealer. Guess what the dealer did? The dealer was like, I got it for, I think it was $100. It was one of Tatis's like PSA Chrome rookies. So the dealer's like, I have it for 100, but since you botched his name so badly, I'm going to need
do
more.
150.
Yeah, I'll do 150. And he was serious. I fist bumped the dealer. And I'm like, I was dumbfounded because I'm like, why is it always Tatis at this show? Why am I like a Tatis magnet?
He's the GOAT, dog.
Where I walk around and people just say jackass things about Fernando Tatis, whether he's the GOAT, he's the greatest of all time, better than Mantle and Mays, or they can't even say his name right. Like, why is it always this guy? It's always this guy. This particular player, he's like a magnet of controversy at the Philly show. And it was worse than the famous person on here that said Juan Sotis. So Tatis, Fernando Tatis.
Not even Junior.
But it does beg the question, why would you buy the card if you don't even know the guy's name?
I mean, I've always wondered, why would you collect cards and not watch the games at all either? A lot of people just buy stuff. That's why I don't collect basketball, because I don't care. Like, I don't really watch it. Like, the Sixers are kind of good. If they make the finals, I'll probably watch them. But, like, I'm not going to be heartbroken or overjoyed if they win or lose. And that's why I don't really mess with basketball. Like, I'm a baseball, football guy because those are the sports I follow real close and watch. But, I mean, some people are in it for different reasons. Some of it's just about the money. Like,
oh, and by the way, I've said, like, on the channel, like, we've all messed up names, especially guys who collect hockey. Like, Lord knows we butchered some hockey names in the past. So we do get names wrong from time to time, but a perennial superstar in the league, like, my first thought was like, again, this is just pouring gas.
That was like Jim Thome's first year in Philadelphia, when I would hear people be like, yeah, Jim Thome's up. I'm like, what planet are you living on, dog?
This just pours gasoline now. It just pours like absolute gasoline onto the theory that I keep having and that I keep turning back to, and then I keep saying on the channel and saying on other channels when I'm live, and it's just like, are people watching the games? Like, why would you collect sports cards of ultra modern and modern players and not watch the games? Like, I don't fundamentally understand that. Like, I just don't get it.
Well, I
Like,
think a lot of people don't even follow the sports anymore, though. That's a thing. That's why, like, honestly, like, it's still early in the process, but you would think with the situation baseball's currently in, like, people wouldn't even want to touch the stuff. But I've seen little to no effect. Now the excitement's not there. That would be there because typically, historically at least, within a week of the Super Bowl coming to an end, people are usually hyped up for baseball, and baseball stuff rises across the board 10 to 20% in some cases, and you'll see certain young players get hyped up because everyone's in that springtime, feel good, looking at everything in a positive light, feeling like this guy's going to have a big year. If everything goes right, this guy could finally have a breakthrough year, stuff like that. And that's certainly not going on right now. But like baseball hasn't really been strongly affected by the lockout. And I think a lot of people understand like it's happening, but I also feel like a majority of people don't even realize that like they should be playing spring training games already, and that 6 to 7 games depending on the team have been canceled already. So I do kind of question like what kind of effect is that going to have. Obviously, if we get into June and the season hasn't started, I think you'll start to lose hardcore fans, maybe even hardcore collectors. But like it's just weird to me. Like it just doesn't seem to be as big of a issue as one would think it would be. You're not on the field, you can't perform. That should kind of kill interest, and it seems like it's not doing that right now.
well, you can even take the opposite effect of that on the vintage side of things, because I have noticed more of, I guess I'll use the term flipper types, have been gravitating towards vintage. And I saw that yesterday with people making offers on, Mantle cards, Mays cards, Hank Aaron cards. And I hope these guys realize that, vintage is for the long haul. Like it doesn't have the volatility of modern cards. Like Mickey Mantle didn't hit 5 home runs, last week. He didn't
He's
go
not going to hit
3 for 4.
5 home runs next
Yeah,
week either.
he didn't go 3 for 4. His numbers are his numbers, and his career is career. So, like, if you buy the card for $5,000, it's going to stay $5,000 for quite a while, and it might go up. Well, it will go up probably. I mean, you can't lose on vintage, but your gains are going to be, if that's what you're in for, if that's what your plan objective is, your gains are going to be, sit back and relax, because it's going to take a while. It's not going to happen overnight. And I saw some pretty funny interactions, limited interactions at the Philly show, specifically with Mickey Mantle, where one guy was trying to get a SGC, a 69 tops Mantle, SGC 4. Beautiful example. It was really nicely centered, uh, rounded corners. Well, some of the corners had issues, but it was a really nice example. And I don't know what the price was. I didn't pick that up, what the price was, but the potential buyer offered $50, and I'm like, dude, where can I buy a 4 of a Mantle, of a plain days Mantle for $50? Sign me up. I'll buy them all day. Um, but the dealer, like, I don't even think he was shocked at the response. So he was just like, I don't think the vintage prices, or like 50. Like, he basically laughed in the guy's face, and his response to that was, the buyer's response to that was, it's only a 4. I'm like, oh, little buddy, this is not modern cards. Like, low grades. Oh, little buddy, we got to get you an education. Like, it doesn't work that way with vintage cards.
It's only 4, man.
People, it's only a 4. Oh, hell. Again, I just laugh and I just continue walking. Well, try to walk, going like this through the hordes of people.
Look and be like, all right, we got 3 people. Which one do I feel the least bad about running over, banging into, shoving out of my way?
Pretty much. At one point there, it got so bottlenecked, it got so jammed that I was like this, and I was just like, do you have any Juan Soto? No? Do you have any Juan Soto? No? And
Hey, you hype Soto too much, and now look at the trend you started. Now Soto's through the roof. No one even has him.
oh, it's not that. I definitely
It's
not
all
that.
you.
That's
It's all on you.
ridiculousness. That's ridiculousness. But it is that what has happened with Soto is, and this is just my opinion, is the
The
people.
people who've never watched Juan Soto step to the plate and do his Soto shuffle are now all in on Soto.
Well, I feel like a lot of them have abandoned Acuna and have moved on to Soto because Acuna's been hurt, or they're cutting their losses with Acuna and now they're hedging towards Soto. Or you could probably say the same with Tatis. Some, people look at stats and they're seeing Tatis's ability, but they're concerned with the injuries, so they want to hedge and go to Soto. So I feel like that's a lot because I've talked about this before. I've been at like a dead horse on the channel, but Soto stuff was so cheap for so long, and then pretty much overnight, his stuff kind of just kind of exploded. And his on the field performance has not changed. His numbers haven't changed. His accolades haven't changed. It was just, the hype of his contemporaries kind of fizzled out a little bit due to injuries, and now the money is being thrown towards him.
And now, if Ed liquidates his collection, he'll be a millionaire.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, maybe not that far, but you could dream. You never know. International market goes all in on Soto. You might be able to retire at a youthful age.
Speaking of international market, did you see the 3 soccer sellers that were at the Philly show? That was a first.
I saw there were a few guys. There were like at least 3 or 4 guys set up with nothing but soccer at that trade night too, and I was just like, guys, like soccer, it's the next big thing. I'm like, if you say so, like I'm not disputing it. I don't even know what you have. You could have a $10,000 card in front of me, and I would not be able to. I would have no clue between that and the 50-cent cards.
I think the soccer cards look great. I think they look cool. They have, soccer is one of the largest sports, and soccer is the largest sport on the planet. But I don't know anything about it, and I don't watch soccer, so I'm not going to just buy it for the sake of buying it. Just because there's
that's one of the reasons Formula One has such a big following hobby-wise, because it's so popular worldwide. But I don't think it's. I'm not saying there aren't people interested in it, like in America, but USA, I don't. It's not as big. It's kind of the worldwide effect, in my opinion.
Baseball Brownie's going to be a millionaire before me. Look at that. 3 autographed BGS. That's nice. Oh, this is the final thing about Juan Soto, because you keep, not me, you keep bringing him up. But the one dealer that I bought the Bowman's Best from, who does the Philly show, has been doing the Philly show for years. He was very heavy. He was like the Juan Soto guy at the Philly show. He had showcases of Juan Soto, showcases. Even at the last show that I went to, which was 2 shows ago, he had quite a bit of Soto. Went over there on Saturday. He was actually the first guy I went over to see. Nothing. He only had about like 3 or 4 Juan Soto cards. So I think his whole entire inventory might have either got liquidated or he pulled it. So either or.
I mean, there's no doubt that Soto is currently of the active players is the hottest guy in the hobby, baseball-wise, in my opinion. Ohtani's still up there. There's still a lot of people chasing Tatis. there's some other young players, even Wander Franco, which was weird to me. I was actually surprised at the show. I really didn't see much Wander Franco at all, and you would have thought it would have been the opposite. I saw one refractor of his Bowman's Best, true rookie / third prospect card / everyone upset about
I
it.
tried buying that.
Like I saw.
Was that the guy in the back?
All the way in the back, I saw.
Yes.
I didn't
He
see
wouldn't
any of the
budge.
base. I didn't
He
see
wouldn't
any
budge.
autos. And the tops. Maybe I saw one guy who had a few of the tops flagship rookies, but I really didn't see him. And you would have thought everyone would have had him in their case, whether they were $10 or whatever. And I didn't really see anything. I'm sure I saw a few of his Bowman first Bowman slabbed cards, but I saw way less Wander Franco than I would have expected. Like either people bought them up Friday or guys are just holding back waiting for baseball to come back or whatever the case is. I don't know, but I was actually surprised how little of him I saw.
Did you try to get the BB21 Franco refractor from that guy? Because
I did not, because he was
He won't-
busy,
he won't
and
budge.
that was the only one I'd seen. And I remember at that point you had already said that you saw one, and the guy wasn't budging from $50. So I was kind of like, this is probably the one Ed saw, so I'm not even going to bother asking.
You should have. Maybe he might have gave you a better deal. Who knows?
Maybe.
Sometimes I feel like that guy specifically.
He's usually not super cheap. He has a wide variety of like new release stuff, but not to say you can't get things if you need to build a set or complete a set, but I feel like, at least in my experience, he's not someone you're going to get a real bargain from.
I bought. I did buy one card off him. I bought a short print photo variation from Flagship 2022, and then I was inquiring.
What short print was that?
You did it again. You brought him up again.
I thought based on your history, you were going to grab one of the Phillies. I need it for my Ultimate Tops team set since you snagged that.
He didn't have any of
that
them.
McCutcheon from me, which has still been elusive to me to this point. It's amazing for a regular short print card. Every time I find one on eBay, it's usually graded by someone, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not. I buy that to crack. So
I saw one Uncle Larry photo variation. The guy wanted like $300 for it. I'm like, that is not a $300 card.
No.
Listen, that is not a $300 card. Period. Like you get one.
It's not even a super short print. It's a cool card, but it's not. There's only a few cards I need for my Tops team set. There's a few short prints. I need a super short print of Nick Williams, which one guy has one on eBay, and he wants like $120, and I've emailed the guy all the time. The guy might have blocked me at this point because I'm like, I literally only need that because of the team set. Like, Nick Williams' career is on the cusp of being over. I think he had like 10 at-bats for the White Sox last year. So it's like, I don't care how rare it is. Like, I only need it for that set. I need that one. I need a couple others, but I need
Does he know that you need it for the set?
I mean, I don't think I said that specifically, but it doesn't matter. It's hard to find, but I guarantee you look through enough comment boxes, it's probably where the other ones are.
Getting back to the Franco though, well, after I bought the short print, I said to him, I'm like, is that a refractor? Because I couldn't tell with the glare on the screen. I mean, the glare on the case. So he's like, yes, it's the refractor. So I'm like, what are you looking for on it? He said 50. So I was trying to get it for 40. Because that's what I got the other refractor that I bought a while, like a couple weeks ago off eBay for $40. So I was like, would you do 40? He's like, nope. He's like, I'm very firm on that card. He's like, Beckett thinks his exact quote was, I'm very firm on that card. Beckett thinks that's the rookie, so people will think that's the rookie, and I'm going to hold because someone will pay 50. That's what he said. So I'm like, okay, that's fair. I don't read Beckett.
You should have said, what's Beckett? You should have said, I just got into the hobby. What's Beckett?
Yeah, he was firm. Would not come down on that. But he was the only one. I was looking for that card too because I was just like, oh, I'm gonna go
I think if
around.
you find that card
I'm
at the
gonna buy
right price,
stacks.
it's
I'm gonna
worth
buy that
buying,
card
having a
if it's
few. But
cheap. But nobody had that card.
I do
I
have
saw
one
tons of
refractor. It's off center though, so
I saw
I
tons of
wouldn't mind picking another.
Franco flagship rookies. Uh, uh, there was a bunch of them. I saw a couple golds. There was a blue there,
Man, I
and
missed all
and,
of
and
them.
somebody
So
had the black. Somebody had. I think the black is numbered out of 64 now. Someone had that. They wanted like a stupid price on it, but I think these short prints are good. I don't know what the exact print run on them is, but
shot for
product,
Ken once again.
since that product is being printed to Kingdom Come, I think the photo variations, the short prints are decent value. So that was like one of the only few things I bought from the show. But we're going on an hour and 10 minutes. I think we'll kind of wrap up soon. Do you have maybe some final thoughts, Mike?
No, but I love Rich's post. I was just looking at the comments, made me laugh. Damn, I forgot about tough stuff.
I love tough stuff.
I
I was
used to
always
like
a
it
tough
because it
stuff
had
kid
didn't
over
it? It
Beckett.
used to have the starting lineups like pricing in
Yes.
it, didn't it?
Yes, it did. The top 10 starting lineups.
Bring back starting lineups. We need them back with the cards.
They tried doing that during the boom. They were trying to hype up the cards in Gem Mint, and
They are hard to
remember the Michael
gem.
Jordan ones? They were just going crazy over Pop One, Michael Jordan starting lineup.
They got to bring them back though. I know they are. I saw something because I think they're doing the pop figures, the basketball ones, and they're gonna have like they're gonna be big boxes, and they're gonna have like big size, like 5x7 prism cards in them or something. I saw they're coming out in a few months, so I'm assuming that'll just be for like basketball and football. And then I saw they had another company took over the McFarlane molds, and they had some new football figures, but they were like $35 a piece. I was like, geez, it's
Rich,
inflation, baby.
Rich will appreciate this. Rich, since you're watching, they had the Topps Finest Hayden Christensen autograph. There was a dealer selling that, numbered out of 25. Hayden Christensen was for that particular release. I think it was the first. I think it was like 2019 or 2018 Star Wars Finest. Anyway, as you know, Gretch, that card was like a $200 card for ages. So I knew what the price was vaguely. So I asked the dealer what they were looking for on the card. Guess how much they wanted? $850. Rich, $850 for Hayden Christensen. So I was just like, oh man. When I heard that, I was just. And the dealer told me the last comp for a roll one was 600. So I'm like, oh my god! Add another non-sport card to the list of fuck ups that I just didn't buy due just to being cheap and trying to find a cheaper one at auction. So I'm like, God, you idiot. So yeah, it looks like no Hayden Christensen for quite a while now that he'll probably that he's showing up in Kenobi. Ah, yes, Steve. I met Steve at the end there. It was nice meeting you, Steve. Mike, you weren't with us at the time. It was me and Ray we bumped into Steve. So it was nice meeting you, Steve. Yes, Rich. When they said 850, I was just like, well, this is Amelia Clark all over again.
You should have said, I'm going to go spin the wheel upstairs a little bit. If I win, I'll be back and I'll buy it.
CSG had a spinning wheel. Did you see that?
I didn't even notice. I
They
was
had a
just
spinning
stunned that
wheel.
it was open space that I couldn't even take in the aesthetics.
Yes. Yeah, Steve was. I don't know. Did you run into Steve, Mike, during the show?
I don't believe
You
so,
don't?
no.
Yeah, he was asking for you. He said he watches a lot of your channel and Ray's channel and my channel, Philly Guy's channel. But that's all I got. Hour and 14 minutes of your time. I appreciate all the watch time you glorious people have given the channel. MikeO, thanks for the free content. And
I know you're all about the analytics. You've learned well from your buddy Don Filmington.
Don Filmington, that's classic school of Don Filmington. Get you on the channel. You do the work. I reap the rewards, baby. All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you watching. On the archive, look forward to those comments because I know they'll be coming. So that should be interesting. Have a great one.
See ya.
Take care.